Hey, so I went out with my mom today. We went to go get dinner, and there was a point where on the TV they were playing commercials, and one of the commercials that I saw was animated. It was 3D animated, and it piqued my interest because I saw a furry creature and some characters that looked mildly interesting. But of course, my first thought is, hey, I like animation, I like cartoons. What could this be? And then flashes on the screen the name of the movie, and to my complete and utter shock, it was under the Disney slash Pixar domain. I was a little bit confused even in that moment, just because I'd never heard of this movie before. And it was releasing in theaters soon enough that they're making commercials about it. Maybe next week. Let's look it up. Okay, so I stand a little bit corrected. It's gonna come out March 6th, and maybe I'll feel a little bit more dumb making this video since it comes out in quite a long time from now, but I've never heard of it nonetheless. Maybe more people should be talking about it. I'm not entirely sure, but still, I have arguments and complaints that I would like to make that maybe don't have to do with the fact that I haven't heard about it up until now. In a sense, me thinking that this would be released sooner than March 6th, I immediately, of course, thought of Elio, the recent Disney flop that was created, and the way that that was another movie that I really didn't know too much about, outside of the fact that nobody really gave a shit to see it. And so in that moment, thinking it was going to be released soon, I turned to my mom and I said, I have a question for you. When you were like younger, and not even too young, but let's say when The Little Mermaid got released, was it something that everybody was talking about before it was released? Was it something everybody was hyped for, ready to come out in the theaters, excited for, talking about? I said, I'm curious because I don't know what the fuck Hoppers is, and I honestly don't give a shit that it's coming out. She said, well, Nini, things are a little bit different back then versus now because we had television and we were always watching television and there were always ads. And I said, okay, I guess you still can go on TikTok, and the second you open the app, you're gonna be bombarded with a single ad or a couple of them. You're still gonna use YouTube, and if you don't have premium like me, you're gonna run into some commercials about whatever they're trying to push to you, whatever is big at the time, whatever they want you to buy, consume. I said, regardless, it's just weird to me that there is a Disney Pixar movie that's coming out that I haven't heard about up until this moment, which again, now I stand corrected since it comes out in such a long time from now. But regardless, it was a conversation that we had, and if I can't use it for Hoppers, I could definitely say for Elio, no one gave a shit. No one really knew that it was coming out, and then when it came out, people mostly were talking about it because of how bad it was flopping and because of how little people gave a shit. So then, out of curiosity, I go online to look at this Hoppers movie. And what I'm shown is the covers for the movie, and it doesn't even look like a Disney movie. You know, it looks like one of those knockoff animations that they make on Netflix where the 3D animation is like extremely chintzy and it's not a great movie, but you want your child to brain rot for a couple hours, maybe you've never seen it before, so you throw it on. These were really popular like a couple years back. I feel like they have come out of the limelight more with how popular streaming has become and the higher the quality that they release now on all kinds of streaming platforms. But it really did look like a knockoff Netflix movie, or it looked like a movie from 2009. I'm reminded of Over the Hedge and Open Season. Well, I don't remember shit from Over the Hedge. I know that Open Season was a great movie despite how bare bones it appeared. They had an excuse for that, and it was that technology and animation wasn't so advanced, so it looked the way that it did. So now I have a question for you. Why the fuck does this look the way that it does? Why? Why? What's the excuse? This is a Disney movie. I'm not inclined to see this when this is the movie poster being promoted to me. And the reason that I was even interested in the movie when the commercial flashed on was because of the few character designs that I got a glimpse of. I don't give a fuck about this little shit. I don't give a fuck about any of these little shits. This is what I saw, that's what interested me. And these scientist bitches, they're what I saw, and that's what interested me. Even then, there was a part of me that was shocked when I saw the Disney Pixar logo slapped onto it, because there was something about the animation that looked a little strange. And I don't know what it is. And maybe if I watch the commercial in full after I'm done editing this video, we'll talk about it at the end. Until then, there are some more things to talk about. As you can tell, this video is not really scripted. I just wrote a bunch of bullet points that I've been ruminating on some of these things. I've been thinking heavily about them. And with the viewing of that commercial for the movie Hoppers, it's just kind of all coming together in my brain. Like I said, when I saw the movie poster for Hoppers, I just felt as though it looked cheap and chintzy, and like the people who made it really couldn't give less of a shit. And I feel like maybe this is a stretch. It's a testament to the way that huge corporations just make slop for people because they think that we're fucking stupid and they think that we like eating garbage. And maybe to an extent we do, but I'm gonna go out and give my fellow man a little bit of credit here. There's this ongoing argument, I feel. Maybe it's an argument I made up, maybe it's something I've heard in the grapevine, but it's that children are not stupid, so you shouldn't really make stupid movies for them. Or just because the movie is childish in nature doesn't mean that it only pertains to children or that only children can enjoy them. Children are smart, no duh. Even if they see things differently and they know a lot less than we do, they're still smart. They're not fucking idiots. So why do these corporations treat children like idiots by making garbage movies? Well, they do the same for adults, I guess. I'm thinking about that show with the Kardashians. I don't know, the one with Kim Kardashian that she's acting in. It's slop, it's garbage, but to give my fellow man some credit, most people have shit on it, right? And whatever, you can like garbage and slop sometimes, but coming from Disney, coming from Pixar, I don't think it's fair for them to be releasing slop and garbage and thinking that we're stupid enough to fucking buy it. When you go to a Michelin star restaurant, you're not going expecting to eat a chintzy hot dog that's not gonna be all that. You're going for really good food. Okay, so when I see Disney, when I see Pixar, I'm expecting to see a good fucking movie. And lately, they just don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about their audience. They don't give a shit about the kids in their audience. They don't even give a shit about the adults in their audience, to be quite frank. And it's hysterical because a lot of the remakes, I think, in a sense, is to pull on our nostalgic heartstring. Well, what do you do when you release a movie that's supposed to do something like that, but not only do half the adults fucking hate it, most of the children can't stand it either and would rather go home, put on Disney Plus, and watch the original in all of its true glory. Yes, I'm looking at you, Lilo and Stitch. The same way that everything you get online, shipped to your door easily, is plastic and will probably break in a couple months to a year, is the same way these people keep creating these movies that have no soul, no decent plot, and subpar animation whilst expecting us to enjoy it. Because for how many years we have been enjoying it, or should I say, putting money in their pockets. But I think there's gonna come a time where people are sick and tired of the bullshit. And I think Lilo and Stitch was a really good example of that. But once again, I just don't think it's fair. And somebody who loves cartoons and animation, I especially don't think it's fair. And it breaks my heart a little bit. I mean, are we surprised the multi-billion fucking dollar corporation not really giving a shit when it comes to passion and taking care of the people who consume their content? I mean, tale as old as fucking time. Am I right? This shouldn't be a big shock, but it still makes me sad. Now, I do want to talk less about Hoppers and its promotion and how little I've heard about it, because it's not going to come out for another several months. We could keep using Elio as an example. That movie flopped, right? Nobody cared. It came and it went, and nobody cared. They lost a lot more money than they gained making that movie. And my mom's big argument in that conversation that we had earlier was commercials and promotion. It's a matter of commercials and promotion, and everybody's streaming these days. Still have commercials on streaming platforms unless you're gonna pay for otherwise. But that being said, if I remember correctly, nobody knew what the fuck a K-pop Demon Hunters was until it was already out on the damn platform for a couple of weeks. K-pop Demon Hunters was not something that I heard from any children that I had been around. It was something that I heard about from adults. And when I heard about it, it was something that was already on the platform. Then being talked about as, hey, you guys, I just watched K-pop Demon Hunters. Are you gonna watch it too? But it's almost like Netflix silently released that movie, just popped it up there and said, fuck it, let's see what happens. And it blew up. It blew up. It absolutely blew up and took over in a way that a lot of people are always talking about, like the moral ramifications and how problematic it is that K-pop Demon Hunters has like taken over a generation of children. Maybe shouldn't complain about it here, but I honestly disagree, and I think that it's really fresh to see children and people coming together to universally love something and talk about something and celebrate something. With the internet and how divided things have become, there is no channel. You don't go on Cartoon Network anymore, flip the TV on, and at 8 p.m. everybody's watching Adventure Time, everybody's watching regular show, everybody goes to school the next day and is talking about the Victorious episode. They don't have that anymore. It's all YouTube channels and brain rot. So my bad. My bad if it's refreshing when I go out in a street in New York City and those little carts that they take you in is blasting K-pop Demon Hunters, and I see kids all around singing, boys and girls, and their parents happily telling them, look, girl, it's your song. My bad if that warms my heart. I digress. K-pop Demon Hunters was put on Netflix relatively silent. I don't remember seeing any commercials for it. I don't remember seeing any promotion for it. And it blew the fuck up. You want to know why? It's a good movie. Whether you like it or not, it's a good, decent kids movie. And I'd argue it's one of the better kids movies that's come out in recent times. Because the one fucking company that people look forward to release good, interesting movies, Disney, has been slacking. Pixar has been fucking slacking, releasing slop and garbage that nobody cares about, releasing remakes that even if people go watch, they universally hate. They hate them. They hate that. So tonight, in the midst of this conversation, for whatever reason, me and my mom started talking about Turning Red. Turning Red. I told her it was a Disney Pixar movie that came out. I told her it was one of the more recent ones that I actually liked. And I told her the premise was that it was kind of like an allegory for puberty and getting your period. And she was like, I want to see that. So we went home, we watched it. And it was great. It was fine. It was cute. I liked it when I watched it several years ago, and I liked it when I watched it today. Despite the Tumblr-esque bean mouth animation, it's a solid movie with a cute story, characters that overall are memorable, more specifically like May's family and stuff. A really solid soundtrack. That soundtrack is good. My mom got the surround sound in her house, and everything was so good. Like, there are these points where they incorporate the whole Backstreet Boys, like, hip-hop aesthetic with those undertones of, like, traditional Asian music, and then they throw it behind a beat, and then they throw it also with, like, the orchestral chords for those emotional moments, and I was like, this is a good-ass soundtrack. This good. Shit, this good. The animation is cute, it's fun, and again, I'm not really into that style that they've gravitated to, like Luca, like Elio, where everything is just very round, the long-lasting repercussions of Steven Universe and everything that it brought to us. But it was a good, solid movie. And even though it flopped in box offices, that was at the tail end of COVID. A way that I can tell you that people liked this movie and talked about this movie was the fact that I worked in a classroom and that the kids loved Turning Red. Again, boys and girls alike. They were on the younger end, so they didn't really know what the movie was talking about, but they loved the music. They loved doing those little, like, active YouTube runs that were Turning Red themed. One time during the holidays, when people stopped giving a fuck, we watched the movie, and it was entertaining. The kids liked it. They sat for it. They were interested in it. And so even if that movie was on the lower end of sales that it made, and maybe the interest in it wasn't as monumental as, say, Wall-E, it was still a solid Disney Pixar movie and proof that they could write something and make something that was fresh and that was different. I know that that movie got flacked because of the content speaking about puberty and whatnot, but I'm glad that they took that leap of faith, and it shows that they can make new things. It shows that they could make a story that doesn't have to do with a prince and a princess and making your dreams come true or whatever Disney was originally built upon. It also showed that there's a demand for relatability, and I feel like more and more that's pretty big. People clearly are interested in things that pertain to them, things that they can relate to. And while a lot of people tend to use arguments for recent Disney movies being about breaking familial and generational trauma and family forgiveness, I understand that that could be played out when we used to have actual supervillains, and those were fun. Those were really, really fun. But I do think that there's a relatability aspect when they go down that route and people see it and think, oh, I feel this way. I feel similarly. And so Turning Red was a solid movie. There are a lot of good things about it. There are a couple things maybe I don't like about it, but overall it's fine. But it's only really gone downhill from there. I think that within the last how many years, Inside Out is one of the only good ones to come out of Disney, to come out of Pixar. The same goes for Turning Red, and maybe a couple of other things that aren't coming to my head right now. But Raya, that shit was garbage, low-key. I don't remember a fucking thing that happened in that movie. Elio, I haven't watched it. I have no incentive to watch it when I heard it was garbage, so I'm probably not gonna watch it. And I'm sure that half the fucking planet agrees with me there. It's only gone downhill, and I don't really know what the solution is to go uphill. I don't know what it is, but they need to stop making garbage. There is clearly a demand for good animation. There is. You got Love, Death, and Robots. If adults want good animation, what makes you think that children don't want good animation? Hell, animation was pioneered because they wanted to make movies for children, cartoons that were moving. And so they did it. But that same magic that Disney used to have making movies for children is just completely gone. In a sense, it makes me happy when they drop a movie that no one cares about and they lose money, but I know that in the long run, it doesn't really affect them as a company considering how much they make. And so it's funny because at the end of the day, the only change that's gonna come is if there's a revolution. Elle, what are you talking about? A revolution for Disney movies? I mean, it's about anything in life. People could sit here and complain all they fucking want, but until somebody, jumps in front of the gun, nothing's actually gonna happen. And until somehow, collectively, we stop putting fucking money into Disney's pockets, I don't think that they're gonna give any more of a shit moving forward. They've been on this downward trajectory for a while now. What's gonna be the incentive to want to change? I'm not sure. Because it's not competitors, clearly. I'm thinking about K-pop Demon Hunters. What other good kids movies have been coming out? And of course, complaints of people not wanting remakes or not liking the remakes have fallen on deaf ears. The last thing that I want to talk about in this video is a conversation that I had with my case manager earlier today. We were talking about work. She made sure I was okay with my hours, and I said if I have less hours, it doesn't affect me. I work other jobs and it gives me more time to draw. And so she started telling me about her kid and the fact that her kid makes art, showed me some artwork, and then said, my kid wishes that he was born in a different time, in the Tom and Jerry era, because he loves those cartoons and he's not a big fan of 3D animation. And we talked a little bit more about some other things, but I wanted to hone in on that. A kid who's in high school wishes that he was born in a different time because he liked 2D animation better than 3D animation. And also, it was reiterated and told to me, it's not that the kid doesn't like 3D animation, but they like the 2D animation better. And it gave me goosebumps. It made my heart flutter a little bit because it gives me hope to see that there are younger people and younger artists who have an appreciation for what's slowly becoming a dead craft. This kid loves the idea of frame by frame artwork put together to tell a very specific and beautiful story. And it's just different when you're doing it on the computer and you got the model and you're rigging it to do whatever you want it to. It's just different. I don't want to say that there's less effort, because I know that there are other things that go into 3D animation, but when you got to sit there over your desk and draw every single thing to make sure that that comes together smooth, it just hits different. And the product at the end of the day hits completely different too. And it's why I'm also a huge admirer of when they make animated movies that still have that 2D animation aspect incorporated into them. Or like I mentioned, watching Love, Death, and Robots earlier, I haven't gotten that far, but my favorite episode was... It was How Zeke Got Religion, girl. I butchered it. I'm gonna put it up. I don't remember the exact name, but oh my goodness, it was so beautiful. It was so stylized. It was so smooth. And I'm pretty sure it was all 2D animation, maybe with some 3D elements. My goodness. My goodness. Absolutely beautiful. And so again, even if it's a minority, there are people who want to see these things. They want 2D animation. They want decent animation. They want something different. They want something that looks like effort was put into it. Not only by means of the animation, but also by means of the storytelling. And in the very least, it seems as though whether Disney has the animation and all the money to put into making a good movie, they don't have compelling stories that they're trying to tell anymore. And I don't know what the solution is. I don't think it's inclusivity. I think inclusivity is great and awesome. But when you have people who are tone deaf telling stories that they don't know shit about, what do you think is gonna happen? You think people are gonna connect with that? You think that's gonna resonate with people? No, they're gonna smell bullshit. Because once again, these companies think that we're a lot stupider than we actually are. And it bugs me out, because even stupid people can pick up on when they smell bullshit. All kinds of people didn't fuck with Lilo and Stitch. Smart people and stupid people. So how does that look? How do you fucking figure? Okay, hi, and what did you know? I watched the Hoppers trailer last night after I got done recording that first half of the video, and it looks like garbage. Everything that looked interesting to me is in the confines of the first, 20 seconds. This character looks interesting, these characters look interesting. I don't care about animals. I don't care about these animals. I don't care about another story that has to do with saving the forest and taking down the greedy real estate guy. We've seen this before. We've seen it in Over the Hedge. We've seen themes of that in Open Season. And what is the point or the incentive to show another movie like this? Real estate bad? We know, Disney, we know, but multi-billion-dollar corporations are gonna continue to buy homes and gentrify and get land so that they could keep building their psych ward gentrification apartments. It doesn't look impactful. It doesn't look like I'm gonna give a shit. It doesn't look like something that's gonna be taken seriously. And it looks boring. It looks boring and uninspired. The second I see the animals, I really could give less of a shit about the entire movie. I was rolling my eyes so hard, and I also looked through some of the comments, and people, of course, are saying, reminds me of Open Season, or reminds me of Over the Hedge. Yeah, because it looks like it's a fucking remake 20 years into the future when graphics are supposed to be significantly better, but it just looks like shit. It looks boring. And so you won't catch me watching Hoppers. And like I said last night, my prediction, this movie's gonna flop. Nobody's gonna give a shit. Nobody cares. Looks like garbage. Also, earlier I talked a little bit about relatability and how I feel like these days that's something that really gets people going. Nobody can relate to being an animal in the woods. Nobody can relate to that. We can make analogies and allegories all we want, but for the most part, nobody can relate to being an animal in the woods dealing with problems that animals in the woods would deal with. You can go ahead and argue, well, they're being pushed out of their homes. Yeah, okay, allegory for gentrification. Fine. But it's still different, and I feel like, why don't we tell a story about a family that gets pushed out of their fucking home due to gentrification? Hey Disney, why don't we do it? Why don't we tell a story like that? Why do we
to take a step away from the animals to tell our stories, and why don't we just start telling our stories? I'm sure you can make a kick-ass Disney movie that has to do with gentrification and a family being pushed out of their home and having to figure it out, and having some quirky little creature that helps them do whatever it is to get their family home back. I don't know. Or to make peace with the fact that they can't get their family home back, and at the end of the day, what matters is the fact that they stay together no matter where they go. And we have to gratitude max. In a dark society where you have to be at risk for some fuck-ass landlord selling your house, but it's okay so long as we're together. And it's okay so long as we're okay with the things that we have. Because it is a hopeless situation, what many people face these days. But maybe mind over matter is what we should be teaching. If you can't go the revolution route, I understand. Maybe mind over matter and being thankful for what you have, no matter how dark things get, is what the lesson in a movie like that could be. Why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? Why don't we go for it? I don't give a shit about these fucking animals. I don't care. I don't care. They've got nothing to do with me. I don't get it.
I have two more complaints. You can make movies that talk about environmental collapse, if that's what Hoppers is supposed to be about, from the themes that I'm gathering from the commercial. You can have heavy and important topics like that in kids' movies and execute it just fine, all while balancing comedy and a good time with the family. See, the Lorax, and then also Fern Gully, which I don't really remember Fern Gully. I watched it as a kid and I think it scared the shit out of me, but a lot of people say that it's a good one, and a lot of people grew up watching that one. As for the Lorax, people shit on the Lorax all the time. Whatever, I fucking love the Lorax. And I think it overall gets the point across regarding corporate greed and the environmental ramifications that follows it. Elaborating on this to say that you can absolutely make an interesting kids movie that explores the topics of wildlife diminishing or affected by the greed of humans. But number one, it's already been done before. And for that reason, if this is gonna be your big blockbuster movie, something that's supposed to create an impact or be a hit, you're gonna have to really stand the fuck out by means of having some talented writers and artists and people who are visionaries to be able to do so. You can make movies, kids movies, that follow these topics and themes. And it kills me because that was Disney in its golden age. WALL-E is literally a movie about corporate greed and the collapse of the earth and humanity because of it. But it's an insanely different and groundbreaking take, glimpsing and taking place in the possible near future, never shying away from the state of Mother Earth after humanity's milked it and abandoned it. On top of that, it's a profound and refreshing love story that's woven perfectly into the entire thing. You feel sympathy for two robots. You feel relatability in the way that they care for and may even become upset with each other. And they barely speak words throughout the movie. Hoppers doesn't strike me as something that's gonna be very impactful. The animals are speaking and I already don't give a shit about what they have to say. After all, in the commercial, that's one of the big points. We have this device that lets you go into the body of an animal, put your brain into it, so that you can understand what they're thinking. But if what they're thinking and saying isn't anything of substance, or it's just really lackadaisical, then why am I supposed to give a shit about what an animal has to say? You could do some really important stuff with that. You could do some really great and cool things with that. And I'm sure it's been done in the past. My point? Again, Disney has proven consistently in the past that they are capable of making children's movies to where even if they take place in faraway mystical lands or not so distant futures, they still hold relevance to what we are going through and experiencing. And they can explore deeply emotional themes and struggles, all while being jam-packed with fun, excitement, scenes that invoke laughter, and leave you with a feeling of hopefulness despite the adventure that you might have been on and despite how dark it might have gotten. Why they have all the money in the world but refuse to put on writers, directors, artists that can make something worth watching, something interesting, and something that doesn't feel or look like recycled slop, is beyond me, and it honestly feels unacceptable at this point. My final complaint. Do you remember that thing? Did you ever come across that thing on the internet? That conspiracy, that racism thing that people talk about when it comes to Disney. Within the last 15 years, Disney has become more inclusive, yes, but for some fucking reason, these movies that feature black main characters will always have these characters transformed into some creature for a majority of the film. During The Princess and the Frog, Tiana and Naveen, Tiana being black and Naveen being brown and mixed, end up being frogs for 90 or 80% of the film. And during Soul, it was a similar case. The main character, Joe, ending up as this fugly little blue creature, as opposed to him being shown as a black man, as a black person, in his skin color. Instead, erased for this. Oh, but it's to tell the story. I don't give a shit. It makes my ass itch. And I bring this up because for this new movie, this character seems like she could be Asian. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. Anyways, did I mention that I like her design? I think that this character is pretty cute and cool looking. I like how she looks kind of grungy and edgy. I enjoy when I'm not bombarded with white people on my screen. Well, that's too bad. She's a fucking beaver for what appears to be most of the movie. And I don't care that they don't do this all the time. For example, in Turning Red, Mei Mei turns into the panda, yes, but she's not the red panda for most of the film. And then, of course, Encanto, a movie that's jam-packed with Hispanics, Colombians, showcasing Latinos in their element, taking different shapes and sizes, varying from family member to family member as we do. It's refreshing, and I'll acknowledge that Disney doesn't always do the black or cultural erasure. Fine, but I'm tired of seeing the pattern, and I'm tired of feeling like it's occurring again in the year 2026. I'm sick of this trope, and I don't want to see it anymore. Even this little nubby blue thing from Soul could have just been brown. I don't know what they could have done with The Princess and the Frog, and maybe a similar dynamic to Turning Red, where I don't have to see my beautiful black princess, Tiana, or my beautiful brown king, Naveen, deduced into frogs for almost the entire runtime of the movie. That shit is not right, bruh. That shit is not right, and I'm sick of it. It's like, till this day, in my older age, I loved The Princess and the Frog. I loved that movie. It came out around the time that my little sister was born, and I think it was the first movie that we took her to see out in theaters. So it has a special place in my heart, but there's a lot of the times where I watch it in my older age, and I can't help but feeling like I have been robbed, like we have been robbed from just being able to see black characters on film, colored characters on film in this cartoon movie, a Disney princess in this Disney movie. It's just fucked up. It feels like a cop-out, and it makes me feel really, really sad when I ponder about a movie where we could have seen these characters as humans instead of frogs the entire time. Take your good, valid character designs and just throw them in the trash so that we could follow them in the story as a furry creature that we couldn't give less of a shit about. Sure, go ahead. I'm sick of it. I will always miss 2D animation. I will always want it back. Shout out to Prince of Egypt, one of the best 2D animated movies of all time. Shout out Akira, one of the best 2D animated movies of all time. I will always miss that. I don't know what goes into that though. A lot of effort, and why would you put that effort in when you got a computer that could do half the work for you? Bueno. That's the end of my long-winded ramble and rant. I don't think Disney's gonna change. I don't think they got the incentive to. They got all the money in the world. They could literally fucking make a movie of Mickey Mouse farting on the camera for 5 hours straight, and I'm sure that one way or another they would make mad money from it, or some kind of money from it. And I think any kind of money is the goal for them. But I too yearn, a lot like my client's kid, I too yearn for the times where 2D animation was such a big deal that you had several different companies that would build up their own studio. I have a bunch of people in there animating to get the cartoons done, to get the shows done, to see what new thing that they could create that would sweep kids off their feet. Creative minds getting together to do the damn thing and make it happen. But you don't really have that anymore. Now's probably a really hard time to be an animator and to pursue those kinds of dreams. It's a little heartbreaking, but also it is what it is. And until we all collectively decide to stop watching Disney movies and shut off our Disney Plus accounts, I don't think anything's gonna change. But there is good news. If we're lucky, a meteor will crash into the Earth, or we'll have some sort of universal power outage where all the technology goes off and doesn't come back on. So we really will have to rebuild and resort to our caveman days. And that might mean that animation and 2D animation is reborn, baby. Don't ask me the implications of that. If we don't got technology that works, you go fuck yourself. But 2D animation will be reborn, baby. So that about does it for this video. What's my call to action? Watch independent movies. I don't really know if that exists anymore, but go on YouTube, watch independent animators, watch TV shows or shows on whatever stream that supports somehow these animators who are busting their ass to create something that they love. But mostly go on YouTube and independent social media platforms to support a dying art. I could imagine that YouTube is one of the main platforms where 2D animators and artists of that sort are able to come together and post their artwork and possibly profit off of the beautiful things that they create. But outside of that, I'd say that we're screwed. Alright, bye. I don't know. I prophesize that nobody's gonna talk about this movie, Hoppers. I prophesize that nobody's gonna talk or give a shit about this fucking movie. I prophesize that it's gonna flop in the box office. If it doesn't, you can literally come here and beat me in the head with a shovel. But I prophesize nobody's gonna give a shit or flying fuck or shit or piss. I prophesize it's gonna flop.